Barcelona sits at a crossroads, and the man in the middle, Hansi Flick, is leaning forward with a rare bluntness. What began as a simple question of tactics has hardened into something more combustible, a cultural tug-of-war inside a squad that only months ago celebrated collective triumph. After a goalless draw in Vallecas, Flick kept his players behind for nearly 20 minutes and did not mince his words, pressing the team on a worrying trend. Individual moments of brilliance that threaten the collective rhythm that delivered last season's success. He later repeated the message in public, a step he rarely takes, underlining that this was not a private gripe but a strategic alarm that required wider attention. At the core of his message was a line that cut through euphemism: egos kill success. Those words landed like a verdict in a dressing room where unity has to compete with personal ambition, external pressure, and the ever-present glare of media and commercial. Flick's impatience with distraction is not new. Reports suggest he has tightened the club's internal code and asked players to reduce off-field noise so the squad can focus on performance. The challenge he faces is managerial and human. Barcelona's roster now stretches deep with talent and expectation, and managing minutes, status, and reputation has become a full-time task, especially with a calendar that demands rotation and ruthless decisions. What makes this story urgent is the fragile margin between a team that wins together and a collection of stars, each playing their own game. Flick's blunt dressing room plea is a classic managerial gambit. Call out the problem before it calcifies. But calling it out publicly raises the stakes, forces choices, and puts pressure on players who may feel targeted or misunderstood. The broader context matters. Barcelona's financial struggles have been public and persistent. When a club asks players to shoulder more responsibility, not every ego adapts equally. The result is a tension that can show up as half-hearted pressing, overplaying in key moments, or a breakdown in the small daily acts of teamwork that are invisible until they are gone. On paper, the solution is simple: prioritize collective structures, enforce rotation, remind players of their shared mission. But football at elite level is messy and personal. When minutes are scarce and the spotlight bright, the human instinct to grab opportunity can be stronger than the instruction to fold into the team shape. So Flick's strategy has to be twofold: practical and psychological. Practical steps include clear rotation patterns, tactical reminders in training, and consequences for repeated indiscipline. Psychological work is harder, rebuilding trust, providing leaders inside the group with the license to correct peers, and creating a culture where public headlines carry less weight than the next teammate's run. For fans, the scene feels raw because it speaks to identity. Last season's cohesion was not accidental. It was cultivated, insisted upon, and defended. Flick's insistence now reads like a defense of that identity. He knows the calendar will test every fault line, domestic grinds and European nights will demand focus and sacrifice, and he is trying to preempt slippage rather than repair damage later. There is risk in the approach. Publicly calling out personalities can fracture trust, and if players interpret tough love as public shaming, the dressing room can retreat into faction. Yet silence is not risk-free either. Leaving simmering resentment unattended can erode the single most valuable asset a champion has: belief in one another. What happens now matters for more than a single match. If unity reasserts itself, older voices stepping up, younger talents learning to defer when the moment asks, and the club's off-pitch demands being managed, Barcelona can replicate their recent success. If not, individualism will steadily chip away at the margin that turns a good side into a great one. Flick's words were fierce because the alternative is familiar and ugly. A slow drift from contender to a team that abundantly possesses talent but lacks the communal will to grind, close out matches, and win trophies together. Fans, board members, and rivals are watching because this is a moment that could define the season.